Good evening and welcome to SVG-TV News for Monday, May 6, 2024. I am Rochelle Ortiz with the details. The level of child abuse in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is extreme. This is according to Director of the Marian House, Jeannie Oliver, who on SVG-TV's Viewpoint program last evening says that it is unfortunate that the reality of the situation is not being seen as people are afraid to speak up.
The situation is extremely high. The percentage, the rate is extremely high. And it ranges from babies to youths who are 17 years old. As far as we concerned from the level of Marian House, even though Camille indicated the 43% neglect and abandonment, the 37% sexual assault, and the 17% physical abuse. When you total all of that, you have psychological impact on these children. It's not just the 3%, because every single child that is neglected and abandoned, each child goes through a process of psychological trauma. So too, those who are physically abused or sexually abused, all of them experience psychological trauma. So, for us from the level of Marian House, because there is underreporting and action not taken as soon as possible when reports are made, the statistics will be greater, and year by year there is an increase. We will talk about later on some of the reasons why it continues to escalate.
Oliver says the cases of child abuse they have to deal with at the Marian House on a regular basis is worrying.
We have a number of challenges that we have to deal with. And it is because of those challenges why it's becoming more and more commonplace. The role of the parents within the home. We have a number of younger parents who are parenting, do not have the parenting skills, the necessary parenting skills, who are unemployed, who are vulnerable and live below the poverty line. So they themselves are at a stage, at a level of unemployment, and then they have to deal with the child or the children. Some of them
can become frustrating.
It is. Yes. And as a result of that, they lash out.
And the child is at the end of the lashing out.
Yes.
Speaking on the challenge with the reporting of child abuse, Oliver and Corporal Romancia Jordan of the Sexual Offences Unit of the Royal St. Vincent and Grenadines Police Force say every citizen of St. Vincent and Grenadines has a responsibility to report any form of child abuse.
And I will reference to sections 12 and 14 of the Child Care and Adoption Act of 2010. It states that anybody who is partly or wholly responsible for a child or children, whether they're providing healthcare services, education, law enforcement, all of us are responsible to report. Failure to do so, we can be fined of $5,000 maximum as a penalty, or imprisonment for 3 years.
So if I'm a teacher,
3 months, sorry.
if I'm a teacher and a child has been abused who is in my class, and I know, it is my responsibility to report it to the police.
Yes, or the Director of Family Services, or a caseworker, social worker. You are responsible. Especially if the child comes to you and say, I am being sexually abused, or any form of abuse, and you fail to act, you can be charged for that.
All right, so you have like teachers, nurses,
Police officers, doctors, all of us.
Anybody at the level of the community. If you see and you hear
or you suspect,
you don't have a choice As a Vincentian living here, the law says that you have a responsibility. All of us have a responsibility. It's not only the Ministry of National Mobilization issue. And this is not just a government issue. This is an issue for all of us as Vincentians. So all of us have a responsibility. Once we see, we hear, and we understand, or we suspect, we have to report.
And during the face-to-face program today on NBC Radio, President of the National Association of Early Childhood Educators, Adrian Messiah, spoke on the significance of the theme for Child's Month 2024, Nurturing Tomorrow's Leaders, get involved, with an emphasis on inclusiveness and to ensure that each child feels cherished and supported. Messiah stressed the need for more support to be given to preschool education.
When we really look at our children today and society at large, I think the team really depicts what we're trying to do in improving the life and well-being of our children, because they are valuable resources. And what we do as parents, teachers, practitioners, government, everyone affects our children. And it's very important that we set good examples for them so that we can have a better society and they in turn can have a better future. So it can stabilize preschool operations. That's one of the things I would like to say. I know one of the things on the heart of the people is because of the recent wage increase. It's affecting a lot of preschools, and the government usually assists in helping these preschool, and they're really looking forward in hearing from the government how they're going to help them, because as of April, the wage increase for preschool teachers went up to $1,000, and many preschools really struggling to even afford that. So I would like to see better, more salary increase for teachers.
Head of the inaugural Child's Month Expo Committee, Bodessa Brown, is encouraging parents to participate in the Child's Month activities.
Asking you to become involved in these activities and get to interact with the teachers, the children, teachers, and get a feel of who they are, and they can get a feel of who you are, and you all can work together to ensure the success of your child's learning. Parents, I'm encouraging you to come on board, be there, listen to your students, your children, and be there for them. We are putting aside a day for our children, just where we are treating the children special on this day. And this activity will take place on the 22nd of May. The 22nd of May, we just designate this day for the children. This is where you're going to treat the children. You're going to either adopt a child for the day, you're going to take them to the spa, or have somebody come and treat them at the school. Different schools and districts will be doing different activities. So some of those activities that will be taking place, we will have Child Abuse March. I think that took place already. So there is educational tours. Some schools are doing educational tours. So some schools are doing tie-dye. Some schools are doing sip and paint, lunch and karaoke. Some schools are having fun day for their children. Some schools are having daddy and mommy day. So it is catered around celebrating and appreciating our children.
The Child's Month Match and Expo will take place on Friday, May 10th, from Heritage Square to the Victoria Park, where there will be numerous educational booths on showcase. In other local news now, we hear that the current age of consent in St. Vincent and Grenadines is 15, and leader of the opposition, Dr. Godwin Friday, says his party's position is that it should be increased. Speaking as a guest on WFM's morning program today, Dr. Friday says he is aware of some sections of the public calling for its increase, which he is in agreement with. Dr. Friday believes, however, that there should be a wider discussion on the age of consent, adding that he would like to see sexual violence in St. Vincent and the Grenadines addressed holistically.
I have listened to a lot of the concerns that have been raised about this, and it's something that many people have expressed an opinion on, and the general view, and certainly it is my view and the view of the New Democratic Party, that the age of consent should be raised. As to the exact age, that is something, of course, that can be discussed as well. Other countries in the region have said 16, others have said 17. If you look around the world, you will find that between 16 and 17 tends to be around what the average is, or not the average, but the higher level is. Some have said 18, but this is something I believe that we must have some public discussion about it. But definitely, I agree with the 15 is too low group that most people are talking, 16 and 18. But again, I would prefer to have broader public discussion on the issue, not just the age of consent. I mean, the age of consent is critically important, but the whole problem of sexual violence in our society and abuse of girls and women and so forth that you find is too prevalent in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So it's a broader question that should be addressed as well.
Noting that forums discussing sexual violence is lacking, the opposition leader said such conversations should be done strategically. And amendments to the Sexual Offences Act were passed in Parliament last month. Dr. Friday says while they supported the amendments, there is a need to review the Sexual Offences Act to have it separate from the criminal offences legislation.
And our proposal, and still is my preference, is to have a special legislation that deal with sexual offenses rather than just as part of the criminal code, which includes the definition of the offenses, but also sets out like policy statements as to how these offenses are to be dealt with. And then there is an entire apparatus of how you investigate, how do you deal with the victims of these crimes and so forth. So it's a more comprehensive approach. That is what I believe we should be moving towards. And it's not reinventing the wheel, because other countries have similar types of legislation or approaches, and that's something we can learn from. And I think it would be it's the way to go, because the problem we have in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is that we are moving from a stage where crimes,
Noting that an informed and educated population will help to bring about change. The opposition leader said this will also help to address the many sexual and other violence being experienced in the country.
Have been very underplayed in our society in terms of how people regard them. People regard these things as, it's just sex.
Or it's been going on forever. It's
been going on, and you have the abuses in the homes. You have abuses from people in different levels of power in various offices. We going all the way from rape to sexual harassment in the workplace, which we don't hear much of, and that is something that's also needs to be addressed as a general approach in the society. To dealing with these very serious offenses. First of all, we have to now start to get our mindset to change and say, listen, these are serious crimes. They're very harmful, and we don't quite have that mentality. And that has to be educational. You start with everybody in schools and so forth. I mean, this reluctance to talk about sexual health and sexual violence and how you relate with one another and so forth about these very important matters. That's old-fashioned. That's going out the door. We have to be much more open with our youngsters, our children, and so on, and have them better educated.
Third form students from the Sandy Bay, Georgetown, and George Stevens Secondary Schools last Friday graduated from the Male Engagement and Development Program MEND and the Women Empowerment Project piloted by the Gender Affairs Division in the Ministry of National Mobilization. The programs were designed to advise and mentor student males and females in life skills development. Speaking during the graduation ceremony, coordinator of the MEND program, Pastor Willis Hawkshaw, said the program has two key components.
These programs are the newest on the stream from the Gender Affairs Division within the Ministry of National Mobilization, etc. And were both designed with two components. One being the school initiative, working with boys and girls at the secondary school level, and the second targeting women and men in various communities. Over the years, there have been a significant progress in empowering women in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which undoubtedly is important for our goal in achieving gender equality.
Pastor Haksha discussed the development of the men's program and how it was intended to help males play an integral role in the home and society.
The focus is to teach boys to become men and men to be active and progressive partners who play an integral role in the home and in the family. It is a proven fact that our society will always function best when men understand and take up their rightful place in the homes as leaders. Henceforth, the ministry began these programs in trying to target male so that they can all become active participants in the overall development of our nation as a whole. The MEN program will teach the necessary social skills using male peer group to address domestic violence and intimate partner violence, to express healthy emotions, to know the difference between healthy and unhealthy relationships, and to understand gender role and power dynamics, especially in the home.
Pastor Haksha voiced that the Empowered program was developed to run parallel with the men's program seeking to empower women and girls to take up leadership roles in the society.
The WEM program was officially launched the first week of March as we celebrated International Women's Day. The launch took place on the format of a week of training with women at the society level and clients of the civil society organizations. The WEM program was a necessary one as we see some of our women are still being left behind. Our society needs more transformational women leaders. And where best to start than in our secondary schools? Shaping girls to know their worth and their potential, building self-esteem, enhancing and developing leadership skills, including strategic thinking, decision-making, communication, conflict resolution, understanding how to navigate economic systems, overcoming barriers, and actively participate in the economic activities.
The two programs are expected to continue in the schools for the next academic year. St. Vincent and the Grenadines will continue to be affected by the Saharan dust this week. This is according to meteorologists at the SVG Met Services, Desiree Neverson-Jack. Neverson-Jack said that due to expected poor visibility, persons need to heed warnings.
Saharan dust is going to be across St. Vincent and the Grenadines for the remainder of the week. Right now it is thick and is forecast to become moderate around Thursday. Nevertheless, it is going to be across the island chain, reducing visibility and air quality. All residents and small craft operators are asked to take the necessary precautionary measures.
The dust plume, which is not only affecting SVG, is made up of sand and dirt that comes from most of North Africa. President of the Public Service Union, Elroy Boucher, says the union is having some difficulty meeting with government departments, which is hampering them from representing more workers. This comes in light of the Prime Minister advocating for workers to join unions. Boucher, who was recently re-elected as president of the Public Service Union, said it has been a struggle to get a meeting with workers at their work site, which he finds worrying.
We may not be attracting members in the volume that we would want. And one of the challenges that we have as a public sector union is we have certain aggression and a pushback from within the public service itself. So while you're here, for example, that our own Prime Minister would advocate for members to join the union, public servants to join the union. When you go to those departments, many of them, you have the head of those departments trying to block you from even going in and meet with your members. A case in point, you have been trying to meet with the members at Printree for more than a year now, and the CAPSEC have literally blocked that from happening.
Boucher said that trade unions have a right to meet with workers, and in this case, the Public Service Union.
Now, any trade union who represent workers should be allowed to go into the workplace to meet with its members or to meet with prospective members, because the trade union are sometimes operate like in a partnership with the state authorities. It represents the state members, or if it's a private sector, with the company. But we are prevented from having that latitude within specific and different departments. That is what is creating most of the problem. So if we want to go and meet persons say that they don't know much about the union. If we want to go and meet them and to explain to them what are the functions of the union and why they should join the union, we are often not given that opportunity. That is the basis of the problem.
The PSU president would like to see more workers represented, not only by the PSU, but other unions.
Why we are unable, it is not a matter of attracting members. Members come and join all the time. All the time. There's a steady flow. But the frequency can be higher if the union is given the due respect that it deserves as a union that is recognized by the Constitution of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and the union can write permanent secretaries, write heads of department, and ask for an hour to meet with its staff, and that will be entertained. It is often not entertained. So the pushback and the resistance from within the public service is part of the problem.
Presently, there are just over 1,200 public service union members. In a month's time, St. Vincent and the Grenadines is expected to see a surge in visitors for the ICC Men's T20 World Cup matches and National Festival Vinci Mas. A senior manager of the Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Solen Russell, says the business community must remain vigilant during this peak season and to ensure that identification cards and other documents with signatures are authentic in the event of a financial crime. Russell was a guest on the Cop Chop program recently discussing emerging trends in financial crime.
You want to make sure that you collect as much information and the things that you need to make sure that you verify the IDs, the signatures, and so forth, because the thing with credit card or these type of transaction, they still have chargeback period so that the customer could cancel the transaction after a period of time. But if the transaction is done legitimately and they cancel it and they say to charge it back, we have a right to then submit the documentation to say to Visa, if it's a Visa card, just using Visa for example, and to show, hey, this customer did it legitimately and so forth. So it is not something that they'll be able to get over it, but if, for example, you didn't pay attention to the card and the ID, because the card that is used is for Solly and Russell, but the person who really presented the card is really Ezra and Valentine, then you have no leg to stand on. So you need to make sure that you verify your things and do your due diligence, be on your P's and Q's and do the things that you're supposed to do.
The National Public Library Archives and Documentation Services, the NPLADS, is this week celebrating Library Week under the theme Ready, Set, Library. A news release says Ready, Set, Library highlights the role of librarians as partners in every stage of your journey, from start all the way to the finish line, as well as providing an inclusive and supportive community where everyone belongs. During the week, the NPLADS says it will be hosting a variety of engaging activities beginning today, Monday, May 6th, with a tour and demonstration of the digitization unit and the relaunch of the microfilm reader service found at the National Archives. The Calicut Connery, Georgetown, Layou, Rose Hall, and South Rivers branch libraries are expected to come alive with preschoolers on Tuesday, May 7th, as they host storytelling with preschoolers, while services of the library will be promoted at the Central Leeward Secondary School. Promotional activities will continue on Wednesday, May 8th at the Sinclair Dakin Secondary School, on Thursday, May 9th at the Beckwith Seventh-day Adventist Secondary School and the Beckwith Community High School. Friday, May 10th is Book Character Day, and the NPLADS says it is facilitating another tour and demonstration of the digitization unit at the National Archives. In addition, staff of the NPLADS and their families are expected to gather at the Raraku Recreational Park on Saturday, May 18th for a family fun day.